Okay, so a lot of you guys mentioned to me that you had two big problems in your business. For a few of you guys, the biggest issue that you had was basically just how to get more leads, which is what we covered last week, right? But the huge majority of you guys actually mentioned that the biggest bottleneck is like you don't even know what to do next. You don't know what to do next. You don't know what's the next step in the business in order to scale it. Right? And so that's going to be the topic of this video. There's two things that we're going to speak about. Number one, I'm going to go in depth into the theory of constraint. So this is a mix of things that I learned from my own experience, from Alex Hormozi. There's a few frameworks from him in there, as well as other people, things that I learned from masterminds, etc. Basically everything I know when it comes to bottlenecks, how to find and fix it, is in that document. So we're just going to go over that document when it comes to bottlenecks, which is the biggest thing by far. That's the biggest thing by far. If you don't know what to do next, then like the issue is like you don't even know what your bottleneck is. Because if you knew what your bottleneck is, then you know what to do next, right? So we're going to go in depth into that document. And the second thing that we're going to do at the end of that video is we're going to talk about an operating cadence. So what is an operating cadence? It's basically how do you work in your business in the day-to-day, basically. How do you become not reactive, right? How do you become proactive, and how do you stop being a firefighter in your business? So that's basically what we're gonna talk about last, right? Now, before we get into that, as I said, we're gonna get into what is a bottleneck, right? So let's start by defining what is a bottleneck. A bottleneck is the one thing stopping your business from making more money right now. Now, think about it like a water bottle, right? If you hold a bottle of water, right, and there's water in it, and you turn it around, right, to pour the water down, the water goes down only as fast as how big the bottleneck allows it, right? The bigger the bottleneck, the more the water flows, right? So the actual neck is the limit, right? In your business, this is the exact same thing. That's the one thing that limits how much money you make, right? That's what your bottleneck is, right? Now, the simple rule is fix the biggest problem first, then fix the next biggest problem. I know it sounds simple, but for a lot of you guys, the answer is so simple. The answer is so simple. It's like, okay, why are you not making more money? If the answer is because I don't have enough clients, then that's your bottleneck. Now diagnose whether it's a sales issue or leads issue, and then just fix that. Like for a lot of you guys, it's as simple as that. It really is that simple. But still, we're gonna get into it a little bit more, right? So Alex Hormozi, he shares this framework, which is the 6 M's. It stands for more, metrics, market, model, money, and manpower, right? The goal, as you see, this list is numbered. The goal is to stop at the first exit. Meaning, ask yourself the question, can you do more? If yes, don't even look at the rest. Exit there, do more. The first question is, can you actually do more of what you're currently doing? If yes, if you can do more, then your bottleneck is literally just effort. It literally is just effort, and in that case, just do more of what you're currently doing, right? That's the first question you should ask yourself. Can you do more? If you cannot do more, the second question that you ask yourself is, do you have the data? Do you even know your numbers to track what's working and what's not? And for a lot of you guys, because you're busy and whatnot, I would say 50% of you are in the can you do more bottleneck, and the other 50% are in do you have the data, right? So 50% of you, I would say, just are not doing enough. Let's be honest, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough calls, enough emails, enough outreach, etc., etc. For the other half, the problem is that you don't even have the data, meaning you don't know what's your open rate, you might not know what's your reply rate. If you do, then you don't know which campaigns people are closing from. You don't know, like if you look at the people, like the clients that you have no idea which email campaigns they came from. And that's a big issue because you cannot replicate the success that you had with that, right? So number 2 is, do you have the data? Do you know your members? Sorry, do you know your numbers? Do you track what's working and what's not? Can you even see where the problem is? Right? That's number 2. Do you have the data? You need to track religiously. I hate that term, by the way, but you need to track very carefully the data at each step of the funnel. You guys, almost all of you guys, I'm pretty sure, if not, I'm pretty sure all of you actually do cold email in order to generate leads. If I were to ask you guys which campaigns generate sales, I'm sure a lot of you guys would have no idea about that. Right? So make sure that you track all of your numbers in order to figure out what the bottleneck is. Anyways, next one. Market. Are you targeting the right people? Once again, a lot of you guys are stuck here. Are you targeting the right people? So without putting too much effort into that, because I feel like it's pretty straightforward and you guys already have the answer, but without putting too much effort into that, are you targeting the right people? There is 2 types of people. There is the people that are in market, and there is the people that are out market. The people that are in market, they're the ones that are actively looking for what you have to sell, right? So they're not, even if they don't know you, they're not that cold, right? They're actually looking for a solution. How do you know that? Based on triggers, right? So if someone, for example, if a company is hiring a influencer marketing manager, then you know they're in market. They're literally in market for whatever you guys have to offer, right? But if you have another company who has no clue what influencer marketing is, never did influencer marketing, they only rely on referrals, for example, they're out market. Like, you need to actually convince them of influencer marketing first. The goal is to target people who are in market. Okay? The goal is to target people who are in market. So that's basically, without going too much in depth, that's the easy version of like, are you targeting the right people? Okay? And then underneath that, are you targeting the right people? That also means like, are you targeting the right people within the company? So like, you could be targeting the right companies, but like if you're reaching out to the VA, like it doesn't matter how good your outreach is, like you're not going to get any result. You know what I mean? I know a few of you guys, when I talked to you, you told me that you didn't even verify the emails that you're pulling, that you're scraping. So you might be reaching out to someone who doesn't even work at the company anymore. You know what I mean? That's what are you targeting the right people is. So that's the third one. The fourth one is your business setup, right? Which is, do you have a sales process issue? Do you have a delivery method issue? Like the way you deliver, is that predictable enough? Do you have a pricing issue? Are people not an offer issue, basically? Yeah, it's basically around offer, right? Do you have an offer issue, more or less? And for a lot of you guys, you pretty much have, I think, like the same offer, but look at your close rate based on people who are interested. And if your close rate is very low, then maybe you have to change your positioning or your offer. And that's what comes under like model, right? Next one, money. Do you have enough cash? Do you have enough money to run and grow the business? I wouldn't say it applies that much for you guys, because anyways, there's not many expenses for the business. Like, you're basically not spending anything, only software, and like, you know, few of you guys have employees and whatnot. But like for the huge majority, like you can actually run the business with the zero money. So I wouldn't focus too much on that one. Although like if you're actively spending, then look at that as well. And the last one is manpower. So do you have enough people, or the right people in your company? Once again, like you guys have a few people in the company. Most of you guys are just solo guys, which is great. You guys are doing amazing for solo guys, so keep it up. But yeah, so these are the 6 ones. Let me recap. So we have more metrics. So can you do more? Do you have the data? Are you targeting the right people? Is your business setup right? Meaning like, do you have the right offer and the right positioning, basically? Do you have enough cash? And do you have enough people, or the right people? Right? Look at all those questions. If the answer is yes to any of those, right, you know exactly what your bottleneck is. Like, sorry, if basically you can do any of the ones, if you can exit in order, like what's the first exit in your business, basically? That's what I'm trying to say. So I was losing my word for a second. So can you do more? If the answer is yes, Do more. Don't even look at the rest. Do you have the data? Okay. If you do not have the data, then just focus on getting the data first. Do not do anything else. Next, are you targeting the right people? Are you validating the emails? Are you making sure that it's the right lists that you're actually building, etc., etc.? If it's not, then once again, just focus on that and forget about the rest. Is your business set up right? So is your offer and your messaging and your positioning, etc., strong enough? Once again, if not, just focus on that and forget about the rest. Do you have enough cash? I wouldn't worry too much about that. And do you have enough people? I wouldn't worry too much about that either. Okay? So once again, go through each one and ask, is this my constraint? Right? So this is basically what I just went through. Now, once again, the order matters. Don't skip ahead. Fix them in order. This is some examples for the 6 M's. Okay, cool. Now, once you know which M is your constraint, you need to ask yourself why until you find the real problem. You need to ask yourself why until you find the real problems. For example, let's say your constraint is metrics. Okay, you realize you don't have data. Ask yourself why. Why don't I have data? Because I don't track anything. Okay, why? Why don't I track anything? Because I don't know what to track. Why don't I know what to track? Because I've never mapped out my funnel. Root cause, you need to map your funnel first and then set up tracking. Right? So write down every step from lead to customer and then track each step. That's an example. Right? Another example is, okay, model. Let's go with model, for example. You realize your sales process is broken. No, ask why. Why is my close rate so low? People always say, I need to think about it. Okay, why do I need to think about it? Why do they need to think about it? My offer isn't clear or compelling, or I don't know how to handle objections, whatever the case might be. Why isn't my offer compelling? Because I'm just leading features, not showing value. Root cause, you have a weak offer, in which case rebuild your offer to be a no-brainer. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Once you found your M, ask yourself why until you find the real problem. Because the M, so once again, money, manpower, more metrics, market, model, these are going to tell you the surface level bottlenecks. The real goal is to figure out what's the root cause, why is this happening in the first place, and to solve that as a constraint. Hopefully that makes sense, right? Went over the example. Then, once you find your bottleneck and the root cause, okay, so you know which M it is, you know what's the root cause, you ask yourself why multiple times. Ask yourself, I'm sorry for the language, what sucks the most? Look at all the parts and which part is the worst. For example, let's say your show rate, once again, like for most of you guys, it's not going to be that, but just so you understand, like that's on purpose, that it's an example that specific. But let's say your show rate is bad, meaning like out of everyone that you want to jump on a call with, almost nobody actually shows up to the call. Okay, cool. Look at it. Look at all the steps that involve someone showing up to a call. So you might have who is booking, so the wrong people are booking, or you might have like the reminder sequence, or you might have like bad reviews online, etc., etc. Just look at all the potential things that have an impact on your show rate and look at which part is the worst and solve that first. Okay? Number 2, what's the root cause? Why is that part bad, basically? Right? Why are broke people booking, for example, if you're getting like low quality companies in your on your calendar, right? Is that because, if you have setters, is that because you have a bad setter? If you're doing it yourself, is that because you're targeting the wrong guys? Like, figure out what's the root cause for that. Okay? Number 3, ask yourself, what brings revenue now? What fix makes your money the fastest? Right? So, for example, here, if we go back to the example of like, why are broke people booking? Okay, option A, if it's the setter, well, you could retrain the setter. Or option B, once again, for the bad targeting, you could fix the ads or the cold email or whatever and the targeting and target better people. What is the fastest? Option 2. Okay, cool. Let's go with option 2, fix the targeting, and that's the root cause. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Let me just repeat like those three because I feel like these are very, very important. So at this point, we know, number one, which M is our bottleneck, right? From Hormozi, the 6 M's, right? We know why that's our bottleneck, or we know rather what's the root cause of it being the bottleneck. Once we do, we need to ask ourselves 3 questions. Number one, what is the worst? Which part is the worst as it relates to that bottleneck? In that example, if the issue is show rate, like is that the reminder? Is that who's booking, which is bad people, etc.? Like what is it? Which part is the worst? Number 2, what is the root cause? Why is that part bad? Right? Figure out, like, list all the reasons as to why that part is bad. Number 3, ask yourself, what fix makes you money the fastest? Right? And then pick the fix that actually makes you money the fastest. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense for now. Now, decision framework. That's basically what we just talked about, actually. Now, before you actually start fixing it, ask yourself these 4 questions. If you have a doubt, actually only do that if you have a doubt. Because like by now, you should have the clarity needed. You shouldn't even have all the rest that we're going to talk about. Is like for the very, very tiny percentages, the very, very rare instances where you're not sure still, despite everything that we talked about. So, once again, before you fix something, if you have a doubt, only if you have a doubt, ask yourself 4 questions. Number 1, is this actually the bottleneck? If you're not sure, then actually look back into what we talked about earlier, the 6 M's, the root cause, etc. So just double check, is this actually the bottleneck, or is there something bigger at play? And for this one, it's more so going to be like your instinct. Like for example, if you're not getting any clients and somehow you think that your bottleneck is that you're not sending enough emails, okay? Which is the case for a lot of you guys. If you think that's the bottleneck, think about it. Okay, is there actually something bigger? If your actual response rate is like 0.001%, then okay, realistically you can do more, sure, but there definitely is something bigger here, right? So once again, am I fixing the root cause, or is it just a symptom? Right? Will this bring revenue now, or will it take forever? Because once again, we want revenue now in the business. And number 4, do I have the data to confirm that this is the problem, or am I guessing? Okay, so if you don't have the data, get data first before you implement anything, because you want to be able to measure what's the progress before and after, right? If not, you're just going to implement the fix. You have no idea if it's working, and in fact, it can actually be worse, and you have no idea. You just have to guess, right? Cool. Now, that alone, we went really in depth into the actual finding bottlenecks, right? We went really in depth into finding bottlenecks. Now, how to actually fix it? We know what to fix now. The next question is, how do we actually fix it? We have 3 questions to ask ourselves, right? And that applies mainly for can you do more, but also for manpower. Okay? So 3 things. Number 1, can you simplify it? Can you make it easier? Can you make the process easier? Remove steps or make it foolproof, right? For example, instead of training setters to ask better questions, you can give them a script that auto disqualifies the bad leads, right? You simplified it. Okay? Number 2, can you automate it? Let software do it instead of the people. So once again, that's everything we talked about when it comes to AI agents, etc. That comes into that second thing, which is, can you automate it? Okay? So once again, that's how to fix the bottleneck, right? If you still don't know what your bottleneck is, like all the stuff that we talked about when it comes to AI, etc., this is completely irrelevant to you. But once you know what your bottleneck is, okay, cool. Can you automate it? Let software do it instead of people. So, for example, use a quiz that disqualifies broke people before they even book. If you run a cold funnel, but Like for most of you guys, it's not going to be relevant. For a lot of you guys, it's going to be, okay, can I actually automate scraping leads or those kind of things? You know what I mean? So the second question is, can you automate it? And the third one is, can you actually delegate it? Can you hire or train someone to do it? Once again, those three things, they're in order. They're going to be relevant to the can you do more bottleneck. They're going to be relevant for the can you do more bottleneck. For all the other bottlenecks, the issue is case by case, so we're not going to go into it now, right? Because the solution is case by case, depending on what your exact bottleneck is. And for a lot of you guys, you still, you know what to do. It's just about putting it onto paper and actually having an idea, like being clear on what to do, basically, having no doubt, just moving out of logic rather than emotion. Okay? Next, what do we do when the bottlenecks aren't obvious? Sometimes everything we talked about it's already fixed, right? Sometimes the obvious stuff, you've already fixed it. So what now? What do you actually do? Once again, the way to diagnose your bottleneck here, you need to map your entire funnel. So when I say map your entire funnel, it's from start to finish, from nobody knowing you to actually someone becoming a client, and I would say more so even later than that, like giving you referrals, etc. What are the actual steps in between? Okay, step number one, have to scrape the list. I'll have to get a lead, right? So step number one, cold email. I have to get a lead, right? I have to get a positive reply to them. Step number two is I have to jump on a call with them. Step number three, they have to show up on the call with me, right? Step number four, I actually have a call with them and I try to close them on my services. Step number five, we onboard them. We have an onboarding process. We onboard them, ask them a few questions, etc. Step number six, we actually deliver on the service. Step number seven, we try to upsell them, for example, to a new campaign. Step number eight, we ask for referrals, and that's basically like your entire funnel mapped up, right? And then ask yourself, okay, how many people see your offer? Meaning, like, how many people actually see your cold emails, right? How many people actually respond to your cold emails? How many people book a call from that, or like give you a positive reply from that? How many people show up to that call? How many people buy? How many people get results? How many refer others, right? And then out of all of this, find what's the worst number, and that will give you your bottleneck. Once you know it, once again, run it back through the 6 M's and everything we talked about before. Now, how do you know when you fixed it? How do you know if you fixed the bottleneck? A bottleneck is fixed when number one, the number improves a lot. Number two, it's no longer the worst number, meaning like there is something else that is higher leverage at this point, right? And number three, a different problem becomes obvious. At this stage, you just find the next bottleneck. Okay? All of these important rules, we already went into it. I don't want to confuse you guys. You can read it if you want, but we already talked into it. Simple summary. 8 steps. Okay, 8 steps. Number one, go through the 6 M's in order. Can you do more? Do you have the data? Are you targeting the right people? Is there an issue in the model, in the business model? Do you have enough money to sustain the business? And do you hire the right? Do you have a problem hiring people, or do you hire the wrong people? Right. So go through the 6 M's in order. That's step number one. Number two, stop at the first one that's broken. Step number three, ask why until you actually find the root cause. Step number four, ask what brings revenue now. What do I need to do to fix that bottleneck that will bring revenue right now? Step number five, fix that thing. Step number six, measure it so that you actually can see the improvement. Step number seven, go back to step one, right? Figure out what the new bottleneck is. And number 8, just repeat forever. That is in-depth theory of constraint. What's my constraint? What's my bottleneck at any point in time if you're in your business? If you follow that, you should know at any point in time what is my bottleneck? What is my bottleneck? Okay. Your business will always have a bottleneck. So your job is to find it, fix it, and find the next one. Okay. Now, once you have the bottleneck, the next question is like, okay, but how do I operate my business? Like what am I supposed to do like day to day basically? How do I know when to look at it and like how long I should give myself and things like that? Like how should I operate? How should I operate the business? Which is where the operating cadence comes into play. We're not gonna spend a lot of time on that because it's very easy. In fact, it's actually very easy. So you have daily, you have weekly, and you have monthly. You have daily, weekly, and monthly, right? Daily, you just want to execute, not think about anything. You don't make any decisions unless something comes up urgent, obviously. But like you want to just focus on execution. You just stick to the plan. You know exactly what you do exactly what you said you would do, and you stick to it. That's your daily cadence. On a day-to-day basis, you do exactly what you said you would do, nothing else. Now, every week, what you're going to do every week is you're going to look at what went well last week, what went wrong last week, and then plan your next week. Here, your goal is to optimize, not to change the strategy. So for example, for all of you guys are running cold email. So I'm just going to use that example because it's literally like I think the easiest for you guys to grasp that concept. But it's like every week, actually look at your campaigns, right? Look at your campaigns, look at the results, like the positive replies and whatnot, and try to like optimize that campaign based off that, right? So if you see like nobody replies, or if you see like for the last week you got a lot of negative replies, okay, switch up the copy, come up with a few new campaign variations and actually launch them for the next week, right? That's optimization. That's not strategy. We still have the same strategy. We carry on with the cold email every day, but the goal is to optimize those cold email campaigns. So that's your weekly, right? Once again, I'm taking the example of cold email, but like it doesn't just stop at cold email. It's the exact same thing with, if your bottleneck is like, how do I deliver consistently result for my clients? Then, okay, weekly, look at how can I optimize my process for my delivery, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Weekly optimization, not strategy. And the last one is monthly, right? And every month you want to look at the strategy, see if you're heading the right direction. If yes, carry on. Okay, you might add on top of that based on the weekly reviews that you've had. You might see like potential blind spots, etc., that you missed when you first came up with the strategy, in which case like you slightly tweak the strategy. But realistically, if everything is working and going in the right direction, cool, focus on the same strategy. If not, if nothing is going right, if like despite your weekly optimizations, etc., everything is going wrong, cool, at the end of the month, change the strategy. Once again, the strategy as it relates to the bottleneck. Change the strategy as it relates to the bottleneck, not the whole business strategy. Like I don't want you guys to every month come up with a new way to get clients and whatnot. Like don't. When I say strategy, this is the strategy as it relates to the bottleneck that we just found. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Daily, you execute. You don't ask any question. You don't make any decision unless like something urgent comes up. You just execute on what you said you would do, right? Weekly, you optimize. You don't change the strategy. You just optimize. And monthly, you might want to change the strategy in case nothing improved, basically. So hopefully that makes sense. It's been already 30 minutes we've been speaking about that. But this roadmap right here should give you clarity at any point in time as to what to do next. If you still have no clarity as to what to do next, despite those two, then I take the blame because something wasn't clear in that video, and that's my fault, right? This should give you the exact roadmap to fix every single bottleneck. If you follow this to a T at any point in time, there is no way that you will not be growing. Like the only potential way that you will not be growing is if you have a genuine strategic gap, like something that you do not know in terms of a strategy, and you just maxed out your market based on the current strategy that you use. Like you maxed out the current strategy that you're using, basically. In which case, you need to change strategy, right? So hopefully that makes sense. That being said, once again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on the WhatsApp. I'm happy to answer any questions. If anything was unclear, let me know as well. I try to make it as simple as possible, but I know I went on a few tangents here and there. So once again, if you have any questions, just let me know. Barakallahu fikum. Appreciate you for staying to the end, and I'll see you next week.